Meeting will come to
Downstairs.
I just did that to avoid.
Oh, I need this.
Did you want to take attendance?
Sure, I can do that. I was looking for this one. Hang on. I'm looking for this. Okay.
Oh, yeah, gotcha.
All right, Sarita's not sworn in yet, so we're not going to take her attendance, okay?
Okay.
Member Marcy, absent. Member Maggio?
Present.
Member Gilwain?
Present.
Member Olson?
Present.
Member Lopez Hernandez?
Present.
And Member Crowitz?
Present.
Accept the minutes of last meeting.
Okay. Do I have a motion to accept the minutes of the last meeting?
So moved.
Second?
Second.
Second.
Okay.
Go right ahead.
All in favor?
Aye.
Perfect.
All right, are you ready?
Yep.
Okay. The first case we're going to hear tonight is 79 Johnson Street.
Case number 10134, 79 Johnson Street, Lynn, Massachusetts, parcel number 069643035. Petitioner Bill Andrio, the JFK Realty Trust, 21 Gilway Street, Saugus, Mass. 01906. By his attorney, Sam A. Vitale, ZBA 10134. To vary pursuant to Mass General Law, Chapter 40A, Section 10 and Section 6, the provisions of the City of Lynn Ordinance, Section 5C, to permit the alteration of a non-conforming accessory structure with less than the required rear yard and minimum left side yard, with impervious lot coverage to be less than 80%, as an additional dwelling unit on a lot containing 6,687 square feet in the R3 district with an existing single family thereon. The variance requires the Zoning Board of Appeals to specifically find that owing to circumstances relating to the soil condition, shape, or topography of such land or structures, and especially affecting such land or structures but not affecting generally the zoning district in which it is located, a literal enforcement of the provisions of the ordinance would involve substantial hardship, financial or otherwise, to the petitioner, and that desirable relief may be granted without substantial detriment to the public good or without nullifying or substantially derogating from the intent or purpose of such ordinance, and find that such change is not substantially more detrimental to the neighborhood.
Thank you. I'm Attorney Sam Vitale. I represent the petitioner. And through you, Madam Chairwoman, I'm pleased to report that the building department issued a building permit for an accessory dwelling unit in this garage, which is a pre-existing non-conforming structure, which is the reason that we sought the relief that we did. But they made a determination. We have the building permit, therefore we have no further need to proceed in front of the Board of Appeals.
Okay.
Are you withdrawing without prejudice or just?
Well, I'm just telling you what I learned from the issuance of the building permit. I would say yes, that's probably the best.
Yeah. Okay. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
I'll second.
Member Gilwain?
Yes.
Member Maggio?
Yes.
Member Olson?
Yes, to withdraw without prejudice.
Member Lopez?
Yes, to withdraw without prejudice.
And Member Crowitz?
Yes.
Thank you.
Drop the prejudice.
Thank you.
Okay, the next one we'll hear is 206 Ocean Street.
It's already been read, right?
Do you need me to reread it?
No, you don't have to. We've heard that so many times.
Yeah, we've heard a lot of that.
So as I understand it on this one, this presents a different challenge. I've spoken with, and I don't know whether the city solicitor has spoken with you, but he's spoken with me. And as I understand it, the chairwoman recused herself. That would leave 4 members. And congratulations to the new member, but that member has heard the case. So there are 4 members. As I always tell you when I explain to my clients, if we proceed with 4 members, we need to get all 4. I make no recommendation. I just outline what the choices are to the petitioner. But on this one, I spoke with the solicitor. He and I had other dealings, and I explained that, as I understood it, the chairman had recused himself, and at that time we didn't have another member, and he was appointed solicitor at the same meeting. They named you a member, and they named someone else a member. But when I explained this to Mr. Coronis and to the solicitor, he told me he would get back to me, and he did. He called me later this afternoon. I don't know if he called you.
Yeah, he did.
Okay. So my understanding, and he quoted some rule that said that someone could proceed who was a new member by watching the the films, and then there was a question asked. There's Peter Christopher is now from the law department. That I didn't know whether they got one or two, but he said the other alternative was to do over, and so I explained that to Ted, and in an abundance of caution and in fairness to whoever the new member is, he said he would prefer not to proceed with 4 members. And all I would say is if that is allowed by the board, that we've already paid to advertise, and usually when that happens, I'll be willing to have them pay again for the advertising. But really, some of these continuances have not been with respect to the petitions, when we didn't have a full group to consider the matter. But if it comes to whatever it is, then we have to do it over, we'll do it over. I don't know what he explained. I explained to your clerk that I can't give the Board of Appeals legal advice, and that I had spoken with the solicitor, and I was hopeful that he would, and I think he did say that Attorney Christopher had cited some rule or whatever about who could watch what. But I can't speak for the law department, but I can speak for Mr. Coronis, who, if it comes to the remaining 4, he would choose not to proceed until we had a 5-member board. And as you understand, it's no reflection on any of these folks here. It's just that
It's his right.
you got to get a perfect score.
It's his right.
3, I explained to him, 3 to 2 is not good enough, okay?
We do have another member. I don't know if she's been sworn in yet,
She's not sworn in yet. She's not here tonight.
and she would have to review.
It was last Tuesday, I think they got appointed. I
Yeah.
was at the meeting.
But he has something to say, Peter Christopher.
Now you've got Attorney Christopher, who I think has some knowledge about the zoning.
Yeah, so I Peter Christopher from the law department, formerly on the ZBA. So I'm a little bit on either side of this. But what I would recommend the board does, if they would like to, I'm assuming I heard you correctly, you willing to resubmit?
Yes.
And then yes, I don't see an issue with that, having a second hearing on with a new member, if that's the will of the petitioner.
Do you recommend that the new member review all instead of doing a new presentation, could we have her watch all the videos of the meetings so that she caught up to all the meetings?
So the Mullen rule is the rule that Attorney Vitale had
Okay.
mentioned. And that is interpreting a state statute that only allows you to go back for one meeting, actually. So it is specific to that, that you can only go back one meeting. So I would recommend that the board accept all information anew if there was a new petition that was going to be presented by the petitioner, and that their decisions be confined to information that is presented in that application.
So there were a few items we were waiting for in that earlier application.
Yes.
Did we ever get that information?
We're still waiting for the stairs.
Yeah.
We're still waiting for, we got the deck, we got the demolition of the railings, the previous deck. The architect plan updated and signed.
Okay, so we don't have that yet.
And state why you need the hardship on the property.
Yeah, we need to see all those things anyway before, where,
Sam,
there you are. Mr. Vitale, we would need to see all those things anyway. So resubmittal sounds like the way to go.
Yeah, as long as it's also addressing those concerns.
I'll send them to him again.
Yeah.
Okay.
So do I have is there someone else that would like to speak? Would you like to? Mr. Phelan, yes?
This, 10 Groveland Park, I've been before you before, I've been directed about it. My question would be, are the notices going to go back out to all the abutters at that point in time?
Yep,
And
yep.
So all of the submissions that we submitted also, would we be required to resubmit? We submitted a lot of photographs and
That's gonna be in
documentation.
the file.
Would we do that again?
Just a second. I think we have all the photographs in the file, so the file would transfer that into the new file.
Okay.
And then it would be seen, and then the new member would have to review everything we file.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
Anybody else like to speak? Okay, do we have a motion from the board?
I think we'll accept the motion to accept the withdrawal of this and
And what about the money? What about the money part?
but also carry over the
Carry over the files?
files and the stipulations
I mean, it's not their fault. We haven't had enough board members to hear their case.
that are already on record with
Right.
file will carry over to the.
Yeah, it will. It will.
I'll second that.
Okay.
Yeah, and then started asking.
That's you. Can we ask Mr. Poole something?
Sure. Mr. Poole?
Mr. Poole, can you come up? Can we ask him about that? This will work out. Does he have to be some, just the ads or what?
Yeah,
How will that work out in the in the ISD office? I mean, will he have to pay?
Yeah, money part.
Yeah, so that would be it.
So just the public ad. Yeah, as long as we state something that he only pays for the public ad.
yeah.
He doesn't pay for anything.
The butter notifications.
Okay,
The butter notifications.
Thank you so much.
So with that stipulation.
yep. Public ad, payment only. Okay. Member Gilrain,
Yes.
to withdraw without prejudice and put all the files together and all the,
And resubmit.
resubmit everything
Without fees, just
without fees and only advertisement fee only.
And the butter notifications.
Oh, they automatically go up, but,
Okay.
Member Gilrain,
Yes.
Member Maggio,
Yes.
Member Olson,
Yes, as stipulated.
Member Lopez Hernandez,
Yes, it's stipulated.
and Member Crowitz. Oh, no, you can't. Sorry. I'm just so used to voting. Sorry. That's my fault.
So motion passes 4-0.
Yep. 4-0.
Just note that.
Yep.
Meeting minutes.
Oh, I do. I put 4. Yeah. 4 votes to withdraw. And I'll give Chris everything I need so he can watch for it.
Okay. The next case we're going to hear is 28 Linwood.
Case number 10140, 28 Linwood Road, Lynn, Massachusetts, parcel number 055214002. Petitioner for Len Hoff, present, Grace House LLC, 38 Havel Street, Lawrence, Mass. 01840 by attorneys Stephanie Kiefer, Schmolbeck, and Vaughn LLC, DBA 10140. To petition pursuant to Mass General Law, Chapter 40A, Section 6, for a finding to operate a recovery home with up to 40 beds in an existing structure at 28 Linwood Road, built in 1900 and operated as Phillips Nursing Home until approximately February 2025. The applicant seeks to change the pre-existing non-conforming structure from a nursing home to a sober home with 40 beds and request reasonable accommodation. Mass General Law, Chapter 40, Section 6 states pre-existing non-conforming structures or uses may be extended or altered, provided that no such extension or alteration shall be permitted unless there is a finding by the permit granting authority that such change, extension, or alteration shall not be substantially more detrimental than the existing non-conforming use to the neighborhood.
Good evening, members of the board.
Could you state your name and write it down, please? Thanks. And just leave it over there because other people will probably be coming up too. So. Okay.
Again.
State your name out loud just for the record on.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Good evening, members of the board. Stephanie Kiefer from the law firm of Smollett and Vaughn in North Andover, here on behalf of the applicant, Grace House LLC. And as you have seen from the submission and the reading, this evening we're coming before you relative to the property at 28 Linwood Road in Lynn. That had formerly been the Phillips Manor nursing home, which operated from approximately the 1950s until its closure at the very beginning of 2023. It has been closed for less than 2 years, and so it has not lost its pre-existing non-conforming status. With me this evening, as I explained what's being proposed at this property and at this location, is Grace House LLC, the two principals, Taylor Lenhoff and Forrest Lenhoff. Taylor runs the operations of the sober house, and Forrest is basically oversees building and maintenance work. And as I explained to you what we're here for this evening, I'd also like to just give you a little bit of background on the building itself and the property. The Phillips Manor nursing home, as I said, had operated for decades upon decades, and it was licensed for up to 29 individuals to live there. That's exclusive, of course, of the staff that was required, the cleaning staff, the cooking staff, the aides, nursing, management. It was just the residents. My understanding, just for full disclosure, I don't think this is it, but my understanding is that during COVID, that number may have gone down slightly because of state requirements in terms of occupancy, but it had been licensed for up to 29, without reference to the COVID restrictions that basically impacted all nursing home operations throughout the Commonwealth. In early, I believe, July 2025, in July 2025, the applicants acquired 28 Linwood Road. And as I had said, the nursing home had previously left the premises, and it was a little bit run down and in need of maintenance. And so since that time, I don't know if any members of the board have had an opportunity to go by the property, but I think you'll see that it's well maintained. In addition to kind of cleaning up the vegetation and the lawn area, Forest and the Grace House, they've resided it, they've repaired and fixed windows and repaired the roofing. So the look of the structure right now is very much back to making kind of the neighborhood proud instead of looking dilapidated. The request that's being put before you is to have this pre-existing non-conforming use altered to become a sober house with up to 40 beds. And as part of kind of the ability to support 40 individuals living there, in addition to maintaining the exterior of the building, the Forrest and his group, they've also improved and added approximately 1,600 square feet of existing interior space, but have renovated it in the attic. So it adds an additional roughly 1,500 to 1,600 square feet. Again, this is no exterior changes, did not change the height, the setbacks, any of that of the building. My understanding is that I believe that the building as it exists anyways complies with all setbacks except for one of a side yard setback, 4 feet as opposed to 5 feet in the R2 district. But otherwise, the structure itself is pretty conforming. But again, there's no changes that are being sought to the building itself. It's simply changing the use from the pre-existing non-conforming nursing home use to a sober house for 40 individuals.
Yeah.
And I'd like to continue, but first I think it might be helpful to this board to have, actually, I would say, Taylor, if you could just give a little explanation of how the operations work. It's a very well-run system, and the Lenhoffs have an existing sober house in Beverly, 30 beds, and they're proposing to do the same system here. It's pretty structured. It's very positive. It's very community oriented. It ensures that the people that are living there are doing the work to maintain their sobriety. So if you could just do 2 minutes, Taylor, I think that's yes.
Just sign in and then state your name and address over here. You can submit to the file.
Somebody's house is busy today. Thank you. Oh, look at that.
Yeah.
Take yours back to the phone. Perfect. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Taylor Lenhoff.
Could you speak into the microphone, please?
Yes, hi, can you hear me better?
It's the camera that needs to hear you.
I've never done this before besides on Zoom, so, yeah, I'd like to start the Grace House here in Lynn. I operate a 30 bed sober home in Beverly, Massachusetts. I've been a certified operator through Massachusetts Alliance for Sober Housing since 2022. I rent it's a 12-step home. I don't know if anyone's familiar with recovery, but it's a 12-step recovery pathway of choice home. So all members are expected to be going to recovery meetings of choice, going to internal house meetings that are twice a week. They have chores, all kinds of fun stuff laid out in my membership agreement. But I've managed 6 other homes in Lynn. The past year, I was hired to operate some homes that needed some help, and I did that and got them all MASH certified and with their lodging house licenses. Once that was a thing, that was the first thing we did, and I was excited about that because I'm all for by the book regulation. It's important. The people that I work with are need a voice, and not to get trampled on by the system. So like regulation, oversight, all those things I'm super for. That's why I'm trying to do this. Thank you.
Did you want to say anything?
No, she
You covered everything. Okay.
Yeah, I can answer any questions that anyone had about what we've done at the building.
Did you have anything more you wanted to say?
Yeah. I just wanted to let you have a sense of the people that are seeking to run this, and I think that's important for a board to consider that. And did you, by chance, send them the and if I could also just, I was provided this evening with about 4 or 5 just letters of support for the Lenhoffs and what they have done in Beverly and how impactful they've been to person's lives. So if I could pass those.
Yes, they are, because she'll need those through. Thank you. Or maybe we need to read them. Yeah, I'm gonna run by them quick. Make sure there's no. They're all different.
So if I can, the kind of the legal parts of this are we're coming before the board seeking a reasonable accommodation under the Fair Housing Act. Likewise, this use is subject to the protections under the Dover Amendment as well. And kind of enmeshed with that, though, I think is the uniqueness of this, that it's also And we've stated our application is in the alternative for a change of pre-existing non-conforming use under section 5B of the zoning ordinance. And the standard to have a special permit issue under section 5B is that the use is not substantially more detrimental. And I would just like to kind of touch on a few points here as to how and why we feel that the Grace House is not going to be substantially more detrimental, but it is actually going to be a benefit to the community, as opposed to the prior Phillips Manor. And admittedly, both Grace House and Phillips Manor are providing community type settings for people to reside. As I said, Phillips Manor had 29. What we've requested is for 40, but there's also been an increase of space in the interior. In terms of intensity to the neighborhood, however, the Phillips Manor, because it required full-time staff of several different skill sets, right? Housekeeping, cleaning, nurses' aides, programming, as well as it had family and friends visiting. So it was a greater pull, I believe, if you will, on traffic impacts and parking. The Phillips Manor may have had, it looked like 9 parking spaces, which was well below what was required of it under your zoning ordinance. In contrast, the Grace House, enclosed in your plan materials, you'll see that we've provided parking for 10 spaces, which is adherent to the requirements of 0.25 parking spaces per bed. So it will require 10 spaces, and we're able to provide that. Again, though, the residents that would be the residents at the Grace House are not going to require the additional service providers. They're not going to require cleaning staff and whatnot. And also, just to fully explain, the Grace House, all of the members there, all of the residents are required to enter into a membership agreement. And it has strict conduct standards, and they have to maintain sobriety. And if they don't maintain sobriety, they're not going to be able to maintain their residence there. It's the whole point of it is to support and maintain people on their sobriety journey. And if they're not going to follow that journey, then they're not welcome there. Also, I don't think that Taylor mentioned, but the Will House in Beverly that they run, there, as will be here, there's a requirement for all of the residents that they have to do 20 hours a week of work, volunteer, or work on support services for themselves. So it's not people that are just sitting there doing nothing, but they're not only, working on maintaining their sobriety, but they're also going out into the community and becoming productive members. They're either working paid jobs or they're volunteering. And again, it's a requirement. And I think at this point, I don't have any further comments for the board, but I would welcome any questions that the board may have or something that I have not covered that you had a question about.
What does the staffing look like?
So myself as an operator, I'm there 5 days a week, and then on call all the time, how it is over at my house in Beverly. And then as for in-house, there's going to be a house mental manager that lives there and is available to members at all times and is in contact with me the 24/7.
Okay, so it would be one on-site, one living there.
Correct.
That's also included in that total number that we're talking about.
So there's always one person on site 24/7, whether it's the in-house, because obviously in-house has the lead to live a life. I'm sure they're not held hostage at the house 24/7, 7 days a week. So I assume that's where you come in for them to do other things, or if they have a vacation. How is, now one person isn't a lot for 7 days a week,
Yeah.
24-hour custody.
It's actually, it's all about like communication. So I'm there like during the daytime. And then, we'll have an assistant manager, as well, who will fill in the gaps. Like as long as we have like a little bit of notice or life happens, like it's very important that the mentor manager sustains their own recovery and prioritizes that. So we work together to make sure that there's coverage. But this is independent housing. People don't need a full-time, constant watch, but there's always someone there.
Yeah, I mean, there is an agreement that has a lot of stipulations, so if
Yeah.
you're not there, you don't know if they're following through on all this.
Yes, I will not be there like 100% of the time, but my manager, assistant, as we grow, like it's an empty building, and I don't foresee having 40 people there immediately. Doesn't happen overnight. And as people want more of a leadership role, stepping in and the whole thing's about holding people accountable. Like everybody who walks through those doors, they sit in my office wanting this for themselves. They want to be held accountable. They want someone to drug test them. They want support. So if that changes along the way, other people are the first to say something to someone because it affects the whole house culture. So there's mentor, manager, and eventually an assistant.
So what specifically is the program that's funding them staying there? Is it one program?
It's not
Multiple programs?
no, it's not a program. So it's a people self-pay.
Self-pay?
Self-pay, yep.
Okay.
And state funding because we are in compliance with Massachusetts Alliance for Sober Housing, which allows for more grants.
So that's my concern there is if you get state grants, there's a number of different programs and different types of folks that could come into that through that program that may not fit that guideline there. So if you accept that funding, what do you open up for that house for the state to impose? We want beds for such and such population.
So I screen everybody. I'm very, very thorough in screening people prior to if somebody's in treatment, I'm getting a biopsychosocial medication list, and then a Corey is once available. I'm doing my research before even setting up a time interview with a case manager to speak with them to see if they would even be
Yeah, but my concern is if you're accepting,
it's at my discretion.
you're accepting state funding, with that come strings that can change.
Maybe I can help clarify your question here. My understanding is that there is state funding, but it is to the individual. So Grace House still has the say of who they will accept into the program. They're not bound by the state funding. The state funding goes to the individual.
That's occupying your.
So they still have the control of saying who can come in, who cannot come in. So they screen and determine who comes in. So while there may be funding, it's attached to the individual. So the funding then doesn't dictate who they accept. That may answer your question.
And then, so is there a definition of who you accept?
Okay. So I don't accept anyone that I wouldn't personally want, myself, my children, anyone alone in a room. So safe. If they have a history of,
So is that defined in that document or somewhere?
In the agreement that they
Safe
signed.
means 10 different things to 10 different people.
Yeah, so it's kind of at my own,
Yes. So there has to be,
A definition of what that is.
well, there also has to be the discretion of them to, admit, but to determine who is enrolled. The agreement sets the terms of what the person can and cannot do, and what will make them no longer eligible to live there. Also, I don't know if your questioning was going to this, but they also do random drug tests to make certain that people are compliant. Because you had asked a question before about how do you maintain compliance.
Yeah, I mean, you're defining something. If you're there, what's safe to you is there, but sometimes you're not there. Or when you can't be there and somebody comes in, who's making that determination of safe? Is this written to say this is how we define safe.
So
I have like my code of ethics and what I meant for our manager, the job description of what their responsibilities. But also, you know, like we have like the strict guidelines of like no sex offenders, no arsonists, no habitual violent offenders. Like we don't let them.
Do you have that in your document there? Like I would just say I would want to see what that is before I could vote on.
Sure, it's an important question that you're asking. And so the documents that we have in place are for the people that have been accepted by Taylor, and therefore we don't have documents for the people that are rejected.
Right.
And so your comment of it means 10 different things to 10 different people, and that's
Right.
very true. But the fact is that the only definition that matters in this instance for everybody in the room is her definition of safe.
Yeah.
So she's
I want to basically have that documented so that the 10 different people that work for you are defining what safe is according to your standard.
Sure. And so, I mean, we'd happily provide you a list of criteria that she screens for. But because nobody is doing I'm not even doing intakes. Like she does all the intakes. The house managers are responsible for people when they're there. But they have to get through Taylor to get into the house, and she rejects more people than she accepts.
And this is a zoning decision.
Yeah.
So this thing lived beyond the day, beyond this week, beyond next year. So we're looking out for the long-term aspect of this property and where it may lead.
Yes.
And that's part of zoning. You know, somebody came here in the 1950s and was looking to put in a nursing home. And they went to City Hall and they got a special permit. And that was granted based on the circumstances at that time. And so you're coming here with a different use, looking to be accommodated for that use. That's different than what that special permit did for this neighborhood. So we want to make sure we're doing due diligence on what's going on to understand what impacts or what changes your operation is going to have on that neighborhood based on the zoning and based on the history. You know, we're talking 70 years or so, plus years of something being at that location, and it's going to change. And so we want to understand the operation.
Absolutely. We want you guys to understand.
But it needs to hold the test of time beyond when you're there, not there, or you're off to the next endeavor.
Sure, absolutely. And so some of that with the certifying, body that exists, MASH, they have the opportunity to revoke a certification. And so that would be, another thing that, it governs the conduct of a sober home operator. And so, everybody in this room, I'm sure, has heard of the horror stories that exist within sober homes. And it's very important to note that those are people that are not being regulated properly, or people that are losing their regulation. And so, we are for regulation. We're for the standards that are in place. We're happy to comply with any type of regulation that the city wants for inspection, to get access to the building for inspections. The same thing, with the state certification. We've already submitted all the documentation, like the membership agreement, that govern the operation of people once they're in the home. That's already been reviewed and approved by the certifying body of Massachusetts Alliance for Sober Housing. The last thing they're waiting on is for us to walk them through the building to see the physical condition, because they also have condition requirements, and they have a procedure for how reports are made that are their standard, not our standard, and we hold ourselves accountable to that.
So you also mentioned medications. Do you have like a nurse or somebody that distributes that, or how's that done? They've got to go off site for that?
No, so all members are responsible of their own medication with a lockbox, and they are accountable for what's in their system. So they have to have a prescription that they show, and if there was a med count, like they are signing up for that. But everybody has all of their medication locked away. Just, it's not, even if it's, allergy medication. It's just.
Is it at like a central cubby? Is it in their room?
Nope, they are responsible for their own locked medication box where they have a key.
How is that regulated?
Like if we suspect use, we'll do a check. Like they are signing up for room checks with membership. But that's how with myself and management. If someone, it's pretty obvious when something changes, when you're so involved in a home, any change, and nothing happens overnight. Like everything happens, so I have daily logs where the house manager sends me, who got drug tested, who, what meetings, did anyone miss curfew, what meetings, who didn't do their chore, and then other notes. And that's an opportunity to say, hey, this little weird thing happened, you might want to talk to so-and-so. And then I know what's going on at all times when I'm not there as well. So I can check in with people and see what's going on. But it's regulated by really just everybody's involvement, but myself.
Is the house manager someone that you hire independently outside, or is it someone that comes forward as hey, I would like this responsibility?
It's someone who lives in the house. It could be either way, but it would be somebody who's in the house as a member who's earned the trust and the privilege to become a mentor in the house.
They also go through a training process with the MASH program.
And they get drug tested as well.
Who drug tests them?
A male, because it's a male house, so Forrest or another, assistant manager. I don't personally do it, but I have a guy.
Is it a male house only, or this is a male house?
Yes.
Yes, and so there is that in this circumstance, that added level of scrutiny. You've got a female running a men's house, and she's choosing who she wants to have in her house. So safety is really at the top of her screening process and what's going to be safe for the other members and for herself.
And just to underscore the referencing MASH, it's the Mass Alliance of Sober House Crowd. And it's the state affiliate of the National Alliance for Recovery Residences. It's a voluntary certification, so not everyone that's running a sober house has to do this, but Lynn House choose to do this because it's important, because maintaining recovery is important and maintaining quality facility is important. And if some of your questions that you're asking are, can you let us know kind of what are your standards, I think that we can happily provide that to you. I would just say that, the Georgia Benefit Fair Housing Act, prohibits discrimination based on somebody's condition here, whether it be alcoholism or drug addiction, but they're in recovery. So, so long as they're in recovery, that they're covered by the HA and the government. But happy to, I completely understand your question in terms of just understanding the process in terms of how residents are chosen and what are the criteria, the reasonable question.
Yeah, so you mentioned safe, so I just want
Yeah.
to know what that means.
Can I ask about the renovations, the attic? Was this previously unfinished space, or was it just in need of facelift?
This was previously finished space. There, 3 bedrooms and a bathroom on the 3rd floor. It was not utilized by the Phillips Manor. They had removed a staircase and put a pull-down stairs there. I actually spoke with the woman at the reception downstairs. Was a former employee of the Phillips Manor. She said they used it for storage. But we do have permits pulled with the city to do all of the work that we've done there. And we've added 2 staircases, one in the front, one in the back, to provide full proper egress. There were some other references to renovations that we've done. We did a full roof, all new windows, all new siding. We replaced all the awnings. The awnings just got dropped off this week. We cut back all the overgrowth on our property and right along the abandoned house next door's property that's all overgrown there with permission from that owner. And so, we have very much, improved the condition of the property on the exterior. On the interior, we're, the same goes. We've done, the windows, and so that comes with paint and floors. The building's also already sprinklered, and we did also install a new fire alarm system despite the existing conforming fire alarm system that was there. We took the opportunity to do that work while we were doing renovation.
Did you do the third floor too?
Yeah, the third floor was already sprinklered and fire alarmed, but we did redo the fire alarm up there. The sprinkler did not need to be modified.
And certainly more. You mentioned it is your intention, because I've got some conflicting things here. It's so the only thing that you are seeking here is the change in use. You do not need parking accommodation. You think that we have enough parking spaces.
Correct. When previously found to me the building inspector, there were 9 spaces, and a couple of them are not very compliant with their sizing, but they increased the size, the length of the space. And if you look on the plans, there are now 10 parking spaces. So as I read your zoning bylaws, 0.25 per bed, and so a 40-bed facility would require 10 spaces.
So just
Unless I'm missing something, we don't require an accommodation for the parking spaces.
okay, and so it's just a change of use.
Correct.
Okay.
How many of your clients have vehicles?
So that's a great question. I don't know. But like I know for my house in Beverly, we have, we have 10 spaces, 11 spaces, if one's small. And when I first started, we had 2 cars. Some people come and they don't have a vehicle, they don't have a license, and eventually these are things that are obtained. But now everyone has a parking spot, and we're at full occupancy at 30. And we have, I'm able to park freely, and it's a house of, it's community. So like people discuss, I'm planning on getting a car, it's talked about prior, but I don't foresee it being an issue.
We also reserve the right to say no. That we don't. Not every person is granted a parking space as a part of their agreement to live there, and so we are at the end of the day get to govern who does not have vehicles at the house. We don't utilize any street parking at the location we own in Beverly. And Taylor mentioned community, and that's what this is. This is a great community. People spend time together and carpool together, and parking is not something that's been an issue with our experience in the space. In addition to that, we do requirement for parking.
How many staff members will you have? You said you'll have somebody that's living there all the time. So that person will probably have a car. And then you will have a car, and then you have a car. How many staff members will be there? You'll have cleaning, or do they do their own cleaning?
Cleaning, they're on their own for that. That's chores. So it's all part of it. It's like accountability. So, and it's self-run. So I'm old school. I do a chore chart. People see, they do a sticker. It works, and it keeps, the house is spotless.
Who does all the shopping for the people?
They're independent living. So this is independent living. They shop for themselves. They have their own cabinet, their own fridge space. They do their own laundry. This is a place it's a stepping stone in recovery to just build a foundation. Lynn is an incredible recovery community, and it's an awesome place to build a foundation here. One that you eventually step out from the Grace House into your own. But they're on their own for chores and laundry, and I'll eat a meal if they offer, but I'm not cooking.
And I don't park I would not be parking at the building. I don't operate the building.
What is actually done at the building, like program wise? Like they're living there on their own. Do they get vanned out somewhere? Is there a program that's held on site to sort of help them through the process?
Yeah, so we're not a program. We're independent sober housing. So we hold people accountable to their recovery goals, their And they agreed to the terms in our agreement, which I brought a ton, so anyone that would like one. We have, house meetings weekly, where it's a recovery focused 1 hour, peer led. So like I'm there, house manager or mentor is facilitating the meeting. They're mandatory, like everybody's mandatory to be there for that.
What happens if someone doesn't go?
If someone, I mean, it's, and I don't throw people out, but it's like people come in through my door and they're figuring it out, right? So, warnings, conversation, accountability. You might go back on the acclimation policy, which means you can't have overnights, which is a big one that people want, or your curfew is 10 p.m. versus the 11 p.m. But if someone doesn't want to do the things that we offer, typically they just leave.
Are people allowed to sleep overnight in that facility?
Just as that's, yeah.
Yeah.
And overnight is a night outside the house. There are no overnight houses.
Okay.
Right, like they have a curfew, typically 10.
Yeah, it's 11 p.m. if you're doing all the stuff in here. At 10 p.m. if you're working on achieving these things. Like if you don't have a sponsor yet, because the things don't happen overnight. I don't expect them to. But the first 30 days is we check in, see where you're at to make sure that this is a good fit for you as well as for us. And then if they're not, then we do, mornings, contracts, and if we can't get past these hurdles, like we help them get to somewhere that's a better fit. Because there's, recovery is not a one-size shoe. We ask a lot of people to live with us, and that is why the Beverly home is so successful, in my opinion, is because everyone who's there wants to be there. They want to be held to these standards. And we have like 80% of the houses over a year sober. People stay long term. We don't have like a high turnover rate. It's not to say things, life doesn't happen, but people seem pretty happy with the membership agreement and follow it.
And so the things that they're looking for, who they want to bring in, they're motivated people that are motivated to stay there, So you heard a lot of it comes from within, but I think that's part of why your Beverly is so successful. It's hold people accountable and don't do the work for them, make them do the work. So,
Well, I'd like to say, I think that what you have planned is something that's sorely needed in just about every community there is out there. And I think what you're doing is wonderful. Our concern, as Victor said, is to make sure that the zoning doesn't interfere with the rest of the neighborhood. So we're trying to get a sense of what it is that you do, how you do it, how they live there. And then you want to hear from everybody else, see what everybody else thinks. Okay? Do you have anything you want to say?
Yeah. In terms of bathrooms, how many bathrooms will there be? I know there were some items flagged by ISD in their original memo in terms of the bathrooms being presented.
Were the plans already accepted by ISD? These plans?
Is it per floor, one per floor? Okay. Okay. The other question I had in terms of access to the property, is there any public transportation near the property? If so, is it a long haul or, because I'm just thinking about access if somebody doesn't have a car.
And it's commuter friendly and it's a grocery store in achievable distance.
Yeah, Market Bank, right? It's right.
Stop and shop.
Stop and shop. And there's a Market Bank sticking here too.
Yes.
And of course, bathrooms for you. The question about the plans. So when Great Class Center initially submitted to professional services, there was a separate set of plans, so these have been updated through March. So what you're looking at is the most current. I think Mr. Cole, right? Okay. It did, yes. Yeah, give you a copy.
And so there are 13 bathrooms here. There's also separately, in addition to the plans, we submitted a code review that was done, in relation to the building code for proposed use.
Any other questions?
No, I just have one more, sorry. What is the protocol if the house manager like has a slip up? Because if that's the person kind of overseeing the entire house. So what's the protocol for that?
Yeah, so they wouldn't be a house. That would strip the position immediately.
Who takes their place?
Well, that's what we have an assistant. So the way that I've always had it is I'll have a house like a kind of like not a hierarchy where somebody is, like they're showing signs of wanting to have a leadership role in the house, and then they become an assistant, and then eventually, I don't want my house manager. I do and I don't, but I don't want them to stay forever. I don't want to clip anyone's wings, and when it happens in recovery. So someday, marriage kids leave.
Mm-hmm.
I have an assistant manager who's already knows the position, who's ready. And then assistant, it just kind of flows.
Okay.
And also, it's worth mentioning that you use like the word slip up, and so like if anybody at the house tests positive for anything, they have to leave the house to get treatment. So there's nobody that resides in the house has any substance in their system ever. If somebody at their intake tests positive for anything, they'll be asked to leave and come back with when they don't. And the same thing for someone at the house. It's not like, oh, I drank last night, I won't do it again, I'm going to stay. They have to leave, get medically cleared, get whatever, if something happened, have to get that out of their system and come back. And that's when they're on like a modified plan with be in an allocation program or something like that.
Typically, people accept. It's independent housing with community, and the community plays such a huge factor because if you're doing the right thing with a group of people that are doing the right thing, it's contagious. And then if you do pick up, the signs are already the goal is to we drug test more than once a week. It's once minimum, but I'll pop in with a breathalyzer. If you can get a moment where you think, oh, is Taylor going to, breathalyze me or drug test me? It gets a moment of pause, and sometimes that helps. But as for, I don't know where I was going.
That's okay. Just, with the, we're drug testing the entire house regularly, minimum weekly, but it's on a random basis. We won't know when it's going to happen. And then, but the whole community of the house is what makes it important. It's not just a place to live. It's a place where you're building relationships with people that are doing the right thing. And in turn, we're likely to do the right thing. And that snowballs into a really, successful program. And that's what we're offering.
And if someone were to have a reoccurrence of use, the last place people want to continue that is the Grace House. The Will House, they're out the door. That is not, you don't want to do that with your friends. You become family. A lot of people come in through the doors with people. You get your people there.
So are you licensed by a state program? What qualifies you to run the program?
Yeah.
Or run the house?
As an operator. So I'm a certified operator through MASH. I do continual trainings when things come around, around, so I'm aware myself, but it's I just do it. And then also, I have, a recovery coaching certificate.
Yeah, so what I'm getting at is it's specific. MASH is a specific program. Is that national, state, or who issues that?
No, I'm sorry, it's state, it's an affiliate of a national program.
Not.
Yeah, no, which is the National Alliance for Recovery Residents. So MASH is the state.
And
So I'm my proxy of part of NAR through MASH.
Yeah, so I'd be interested in what that certification is specifically. And my concern is just knowing how, like, they were in a nursing home here for X number of years, and for whatever reason, they're moving on for that. Maybe the children of the original owners don't want to run the business, like, there's all kinds of stories, right? But it's changed, you're looking to come in here and change its use. And there's gonna come a day when you reach that point, and there may not be a market. Say you did such a great job, we don't need solar houses anymore, but we need a different kind of house, right? And somebody's gonna wanna buy that property for the beds, maybe for a whole different program, maybe for a program we don't want.
But then you get a change of use, so then you come.
You change the use, they would come. So that's what I don't wanna do is, like, they approved a nursing home use by special permit. And I wanna understand what you do and what that actual use is and how it's defined by this program. Because I don't want to give it carte blanche for anything to come in and use beds. We're gonna do, a
Just run.
house confinement for prison beds, kind of thing.
Right, and just to be clear, we're not asking for just a general use to
Yeah.
change it to, a home of any nature. We're being very specific that we want it to be run as a sober house, and in this instance,
Yeah, so I think,
my grand's house, and they intend to comply with the, the standards that are set out by Nash, with the city.
yeah, so I wanna see that credential and what that really means. I'm not familiar with all those credentials and I don't know if it's a license or a certification, but you're asking for it to be a mass certified sober home under this definition of program, right? I want to see what that is, because that's what you're asking for. And just a little bit more definition of what that is,
Sure.
what you're asking.
Yeah, but just to be clear that it's a voluntary certification program, Nash's.
Yeah.
Just so you understand that, okay.
Yeah, but it's like anything, you're asking to operate this volunteer program. It's gonna change it, it won't be a nursing home anymore, is what you're asking for.
Yes.
And it's going to be, you're asking for it to be a sober home run by this pro, I wanna know what that definition is.
Okay.
And we don't know what we're gonna vote on, but I wanna know what you're asking for to define it. You follow? Yeah. And you can, I don't know if we're gonna vote tonight on all this, and then maybe some, like, that's information I wanna see submitted. It takes you time to gather up your thoughts and put it together. I wanna present it that way, so I have the right language of what you're asking for. And you're a legal attorney, so you know words matter.
I'm sure that you may have more comments, but before you open it up, are there any other questions the board has for meeting or civil in-laws?
Nope, we're good. Okay. Brianna, there was a couple of letters that went around in support of this.
Yes.
Could you read those?
I think I passed them. Do I need to read these all or can we accept them?
Well, we can accept them, and I should think at least we should read who has written in to support the
Sure.
project and their address, so that at least we know what it is.
Sure. So I have a letter here from Harwood Houses, 3 Lewis Street, office, Lynn, Mass. 01902. I have a letter of support from Dan Jacobson. I do not have an address for Dan Jacobson. I have a letter from John O'Neill, 24 Saratoga Street, Lynn, Massachusetts. I have a letter from a Timothy Carter from the Will House. And then I have a letter from all of the members of the Will House.
Okay.
it looked like some of those letters were from members and managers.
Yes.
Correct, yeah.
Yes, it wasn't anybody from the neighborhood.
No.
Just would like to make.
Yeah, just members and
And then
managers.
I'll take that for the files, I'll take that for the files. Is there anybody else
Do we have
here?
another letter from the counselor?
Not yet, not yet.
Yeah.
Anybody else here in favor, or who would like to speak in favor of this proposition? Now would be the time. Okay, anybody, you in favor of the proposition? In favor of,
Without, I have issues, but I'm generally in favor of the proposition.
okay, go ahead. And would you please, state your name and then sign in?
Yeah, Peter Valentine, 22 Linwood Road. I live directly next door to the house, and I lived there 5 years ago. It's actually, my house next door is owned by Washington Street Baptist Church. So it's the parsonage of the church. It's been the parsonage for probably 80 years that I lived there. I believe, like you said, sober houses are helpful things in a place like Lynn. And I have talked to their assistant director, Daniel. And, you know, I believe that these guys run a good organization. But I do, my biggest thing is the number of people, 40 people. I know Phillips Manor had, during COVID was 25. I talked to the director, and even though it may have been zoned for 29, you know, during COVID was 25. The reality of a nursing home is the people that live there never leave. They're inside the building all the time. And I hate to say it, not many people visit. So the majority is the staff coming and going. So yes, I'd have staff parking in front of my house all the time, waiting for pickups, that kind of thing. So I know with this situation, I don't think staff is going to be an issue. For me, we are in a residential environment with single and double family homes. Generally, there really are no large, you know, multi-family apartments nearby houses. So the idea of, you know, 40 people, the majority not having cars, in and out constantly, you know, having to, you know, go to the grocery store, get work and all of that. I just think and most of the people I've talked to just think that number is a pretty big number for the neighborhood. So I would be more in support of something around 25 people. Now I know there's financial needs to make, you know, to make as much as you can out of the building, but, you know, I think for the sake of the context of where it's located, 25 would be a lot. I just picked that number because that's how many residents were in there during COVID. And those are residents that, again, don't leave. I hardly ever saw a resident leave. Maybe, you know, every 3 months, on an ambulance or something like that. You know, and I mean, the idea is that when it's hot, there's a back area. And 40 people hanging outside it's just good. It's a lot of people. So that's just what I think you guys should think about, the number. I also think I agree with your opinion that could we write this in that this would be a MASH certified sober house? Otherwise, anybody and his brother can just say, I'm going to have a sober house, and you have no idea what it's going to be like. I love it, the idea that these guys want to follow all those certifications. Could the city bake that into the zoning law that it has to be certified by a MASH certified sober house? 25 people max. I'd be okay with that as the abutter.
Thank you. Does anybody have any questions?
Anybody for the project?
Anybody else have any comments to make in favor of the project? Sir? If you come up and sign in and state your name and address.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. My name's Andy Lord Noyugere. I'm a member of Washington Street Baptist Church, and happened that we have a personage in the streets, and I normally drive around that street. Even I used to walk with that particular house when it newly opened. That's when I came to Lynn. My concern is on three grounds. Though I'm supporting them, but on three grounds. That is the structural capacity of that building and the call it the climatic situations that will deprive 40 people in that house. Because, you know, these days, I'm sorry if I might maybe want to go into history. These days, most of the houses that we have, though old and new, there's still some problem when you have a lot of people in the house, especially when it comes to the issue of sanitation. That is, like I said, the toilets and the what do they call it? So I would really want to follow up with what my pastor says. If we could have a less number, so that when we have a problem of restroom or whatever, it could reduce in the sense of the structure, because you know, having 10, 20 restroom, and you know, when the like for example, when snow comes in, you know, it will flow like, I don't know, but I'm not an engineer, but I know what I'm trying to say is that it has a lot of impact in the community, especially when there's a breakage in one of those areas that I'm talking about. So I would want this body to look into the possibility of requesting reduction in the number of the population, so that it will help the building, it will help the environment from being spilled over. So that's just what I have to say. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Anyone else here have something to say in favor of the project? Come forward. In favor of the project. In favor. You're not in favor. You have something to say in favor? Please sign in and state your name and address.
Hi, I'm Karen Farrow, and I run one of the houses on one of the Howard houses on 15 Hovey Terrace, and I worked with Taylor, I was one of her house managers, and I am still a house manager over at Howard. And I was a client, and I've worked myself up, and she is very strict on what she wants and how she wants things. Like if there was ever an issue, she would know immediately. We've never really had any issues at all. Like everybody had to be in by a certain time. Everybody had to be responsible, and if they weren't, they were written up. So there are strict guidelines on this. So if you have any questions, like they have to do their meetings. I'm in sobriety. I take my sobriety very seriously. I run the Ryan House now. I work there now. My recovery is huge, and I think this is a good thing because there's not a lot of sober homes that are like this. You know what I mean? There are sober homes, but not as well as what they want. So I really think what they're doing is a great thing because we don't have enough, especially for the people that are in my house. I run a girl's house and I have a great, and we're very close. And I can tell if there's anybody struggling, I tell them, come to me. And I'm working now at the Ryan House and I can see if anybody's struggling and I want to see everybody succeed, you know? And I think this is the best thing for us, you know? So, thank you.
Thank you. Can I ask you a
That
question?
sounds like a great program.
Are the Ryan and Hovey House, are those both MASH certified as well?
The Howard House is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The beach house.
The Ryan House is a program. So when people get out of detox and things like that, that's what it's a 4 to 6 month program. So that's something separate, but that's what I decided to do when I got into recovery is that I want to see some people succeed. And these people have a heart and like they really want this. And that's the things that I am finding, that they are getting their lives back and that's what they want. So, and I've seen so many people succeed and not go backwards, and that's what I want for them. So, thank you.
Do any of you have any other questions that you want to ask the people and stuff? Okay. Is there any?
I have one, Madam Chairwoman. The Beverly House, how many beds are there in Beverly?
30 beds.
All right.
Anybody here in opposition to this, please come forward. If you could please sign in here on the sheet and state your name and address for the record.
My name is Stephen Skluvonis. I own 34 Linwood Road, next to Phillips Nursing Home. They're saying they have 10 parking spaces. I just heard that now. Jay and Rick only had, I think, 4 parking spaces after the building. It is an easement from Linwood Road to Avery, and I own that. It was established in 1895, and here's the documentation. So I don't know when they're coming up with 10 parking spaces. Because I mean, if they think they're gonna park car after car after car, not gonna be. I had an agreement with Jay and with Rick that I would never say nothing, come go as you please, but nobody can park there. Because when the McGrains owned it, he parked dead center of the property and moved his car.
Who's Jay and Rick?
They had owned the nursing home.
Oh, okay.
So I've had the property next door 17 years. From Linwood Road to Amory, that is an easement right away. It's not a driveway for them, and it's documented to me in 1895.
So what they're using to get to their parking lot is your easement? Were you aware of this?
We own property with frontage on Amory and Lakewood, and I'm not familiar with the easement.
It's the whole, it's from the street, the whole driveway there is.
My stating that it's not your property.
No, it's not your property. Ours there. Well, your lawyers should have done their due diligence. I mean, you're an attorneys, it's just me. I just heard this now.
So your lawyer's gonna need, that's gonna be one of the stipulations.
So when you come in,
Look at
I
that.
think Jay had 4 parking spaces in the dumpster. So, like I said, when the McGrains owned the house, Jay said to me, he parks dead center there, we have to pull it in the back, and I said, I would never do that. So there's not 10 parking spaces, they maybe have 4. That's my only gripe, that's left open at all times. You want a copy of all that?
Yes, that would be great.
That file, is there a file number in the deed?
Oh, no, I don't know. It was established in 1895, so-
Was filed with some registry deeds.
Oh, no, it must be.
Page on that.
Thank you.
Yeah, I just look at my house.
Oh, is there a plot plan, did they have a plot plan showing the spaces what they were doing?
On the parking, I have not seen one.
Yes, it's in the submission.
Well, there's a bunch of new spaces here. Like I said, it's also.
I'd be really curious, Mr. Poole, is that something you guys would normally pick up in your department? that they're planning their parking on like somebody else's easement?
It's not something we look at. I do have a plan next year to do that. Does anyone talk, so I'll have it shown.
I don't disagree with you.
I'm looking at the plan I was seeing. Two of these spaces are right over the design before.
Yeah.
I think the space one is sort of just the suite and walkway. There's no curb path that fits it, so it's a huge space. It's not compliant with the back of the street. Space three looks like it's too close to the building. It only has to be 5 feet away. It has to be 5 feet from the street, which is consistent with
Yeah. Take a look at it.
that driveway. That's also considering the foot by all it. It's like it's not even going with that. It's granted the property in 1895, so.
All right, I appreciate your bringing this to our attention. Thank you.
Thank you.
Put that down.
As long as that's what-
A good point.
Okay, anyone else here,
Put
opposed?
that down.
Please, oh, wait a minute. I know how hard it is to get out. Come on.
Yeah.
I hear you.
Can I help?
No, I need you in front of the microphone. I'm sorry. There we go. There we go. Oh, the knees. I hear you.
Let's put this in here. I don't know if it's registered.
I'm the same way.
No, sorry, I was trying to see if I had it in my email.
Yeah, I'm just checking out.
Yeah.
Can we press a couple of those down? Thank you.
I don't think, Ibram's seen anything yet.
Did the parking plan?
Okay, your name and address. Sir. Can you talk into the mic? It's for the camera.
Joe, the what?
My name is Joe.
Joe Lockwood.
Anyway, I've seen a lot of change. I had a 22-year history working for the Veterans Administration, and I would take transport people back and forth. Some good, some bad. And, you know, like I said, they are necessary. It's the size that's kind of, it's kind of rosy to you know. You can't put that. People come, this is.
Can you address it to the board? Can you address it to the board? Thanks.
I just found out that I don't know if they're gonna do any kind of food service in there, cooking. Cookouts, cookouts and residents in there. And like you say, that was an older crowd, in Heaven's Waiting. And he ran the place very well. If there was any kind of a problem, you could deal with him. Let's see. Come in. I worked on some of it's the traffic and parking issues and blocked driveways. There's a lot of driveways on Emery Street, which was a short street with houses on both sides and very little non-resident parking in the area. Plus, you get Tracy School up the street. Yeah, I don't know if you're familiar with the area at all up there, but when they bring people, drop the kids off in the morning, and it's a madhouse out there. I mean, there's cars everywhere. So if people are trying to get out of there to go to work, they better have an early shift. Thing I want to say. Like I said, my experience with homes like this is there's good ones and there's bad ones. Like I said, it's not like they're pretty rounded the way to run it. It's just a problem with the number of people I want to have there.
Okay.
And it's, he just, speaking. But, before the nursing home showed me patients with cognitive issues, mobility problems, and, related age problems. I was concerned about the kind of people that come in. People like that over the years. We have people that beat jail time. Like, I'll go to a silver house, I'll go to a recovery house. So the people are having laughing at the street all the way through. They're not people with chronic systems. Believe it or not. So, as you kind of said, you've got people pretty good. Now, this is, these people are going to be at home. Then I'm sure you got younger people, got families, and brothers who want to come by and see. You don't see the streets on the weekend. Not a spot to be had. I get blocked in, I get driveways, I live on a corner. And I get 2 driveways. And half the time I have to call a bus to come down and tow people away. Because they just parked there with the car there all day. And the other thing is, you brought it up about the regulatory authority. I mean, who are they responsible to? You get this ambiguous answer, what's the state? Or something like that. Who? What agency actually makes the rules and regulations? Where's the accountability? The staffing. How many people even they intend staffing? You get 20 guys, that's embarrassed. Detrimental to property values. I mentioned the proximity to trade school. It's not a good fit for that neighborhood. In the mentions here. I mean, my taxes went $1,000 this year. The value of my house was $150,000. I went from 3 years ago, it was 5,000 to 6,000. Now it's $9,000 a year. If I was trying to sell the house, they're saying the house is worth $775,000. No way in hell. But would anybody want to release something like that? I mean, it's just not good. But I'm not good about it. That's all I got.
Thank you very much. Okay. Could you read, is this it? Councilor Hogan's letter. Yeah. Yeah, that is it. Could you hand that to Brianna? Thank you. We have a letter here from the counselor for that ward.
Yes. Dear Chairman Crowitz, as you are aware, I'm the duly elected Ward 6 City Solicitor for the City of Lynn and also serve as the Council Vice President. A petition for a variance has been submitted to the Zoning Board of Appeals, and a hearing is scheduled for this evening on the above referenced petition. The applicant is seeking to convert a 29-bed nursing home into a 40-bed home for sober living. Please be advised that 28 Linwood is located in the R2 zoning district. The neighborhood primarily consists of single and 2-family homes. I believe that a 40-bed facility will overburden the existing residential character of the neighborhood. The proposed use doubles the size of residents who lived at the prior nursing home. Unlike residents of a nursing home who largely remain housebound, residents of the sober home will presumably be able to go and come to the facility in their own vehicles or taxis and ride shares. I've been informed that the applicant would not require any zoning relief if it reduced the number of beds in the facility. By reducing the number of beds in the facility, potential congestion will be reduced and there will be no detrimental impact to the surrounding community. I fully recognize that sober homes receive significant legal protections under federal and state law. However, I believe a 40-bed sober home does not conform with the existing residential character of the neighborhood. By reducing the number of beds to comply with our new zone ordinance, all neighbors and abutters would be best served. Terry Crowitz, Chairman, April 21st, 2026. Thank you for your consideration in this matter. Very truly yours, Frederick W. Hogan, Ward 6 Council.
Okay. So that's what from your counselor. Is there anybody else here that would like to speak in opposition to this project?
Hi, my name is Dante DeFuria. I live at 9 Amory Street, which abuts 28 Linwood Road property. Their parking lot actually abuts my property. I do have a problem with the amount of beds that were in there or going in. When it was a nursing home, as Mr. Rock had stated, most of the people that were in there because they were elderly, and that was one of their last stops before they go anyplace else. I have a problem with, again, the amount of beds that are there, the amount of people. There is a school right down the street from there, Tracy School. It's within a half block. There are a lot of kids on our street and in that neighborhood. And I don't think there's going to be ample parking. There's no way they're getting 10 cars in there. I was a friend of Rick when he ran the place, the last owner. We got along very well. We worked out any issues he had with parking there, as far as with his staff, because there was never enough space for them. And Jay, the other owner that was there, same problem. There was always an issue with parking. Most of the residents in the neighborhood, or a few of them, I did manage to get a petition with 28 or 25 names that are opposed to this. Opposed to this building or what it is being used for as far as so on. They did do a good job. They fixed it up a little bit out there. They sided a little bit, but it is not a fit for that. 40 people in there is not going to work. And I think the type of people and all people straighten out the issues, but I don't think it belongs in that area. They also had something in here, I believe, for a 60-day extension, if they need to do other alterations or whatever. I'm not sure.
I'm not sure what that is either.
Yeah, it was mentioned a 60-day extension. And the other thing is they really have space for what it is. I don't know if anybody from the council has gone to look at this place at all, look at the building, or even know where it's located. I'm not sure. But they have issues as far as what are they going to do with trash? Are they going to have a dumpster there? If they put a dumpster there, that eliminates a parking spot.
More than one, because they got to get in.
They had a dumpster. They used to have a dumpster there before. We ended up with a big rat problem there in the neighborhood. And it seems to be under control now, where the nursing home has closed for a year or a year and a half, whatever it is. But I'm just looking ahead, I don't think it's a good fit for kids to be around. And obviously, a lot of people, some people on Linwood Road had been notified by the town, by the city. Other people did not, so I don't know how that slipped through there. Because I went knocking door to door this past week to get people to let them know. Some have already knew about it, others were not knew about it. So, I have no idea how that was. Parking would be an issue. Amory Street, Grove Street, where Joe lives, Walton Street, which is the next street that runs off of Amory Street, Salem Street, that whole area is loaded with cars as it is, parking wise. There's just no way that anybody else is going to park on that street. It's really is a nuisance.
Thank you very much. Is there anybody else here who would like to speak in opposition to the plan?
My name is Regina Gutierrez. I reside at 9 Amory Street, which the back of the property. There's a few issues. I do have an issue with not just 40 people in this capacity of a building, but 40 men in my neighborhood. I am the mother of a daughter. I do have young nephews. There are plenty of children in the neighborhood. I'm not saying everyone is a threat, but it does pose some concern for me to have 40 new people, especially of that state, that one sex in my neighborhood. The parking would be a huge issue because according to the parking plan that I see here, what is been in existence there was 4 spots abutting our property in the lot, 1 handicap against the building, space for a dumpster, no parking in this easement. There is parking on Linwood Road that nobody chooses to use. Everybody parks on Amory Street, which limits all of our parking. Even when they were there over last summer doing theater work in the building, they were parking on Amory Street, not even in their parking lot, which made us lose 2 spots that we lived there and couldn't even park there during the day. We had to move our cars to park after they left from being there all day, and their workers that were there would park on Amory Street. They would take the whole one side. They would take anywhere from 2 to 4 to 5 spots. They had their own driveway, their own parking lot. They owned their own Linwood Road. No vehicles were there. It always interfered with our parking. The dumpster that was there, that is passing because it's not, it looks like they're not gonna have one, but they would come down Amory Street, block Amory Street to get the dumpster out of the driveway, to bring it onto the road, to then do what the dumpster company has to do. The deliveries, it was always an issue. So I'm all for sober living. I work in the medical field for the last 15 years. I have licenses that I could wallpaper a small room with. I'd like to know why there aren't any licensing for having sober living. I'm definitely going to research that, but I would like some feedback on that, especially if they have to be drug tested. And if she's only there Monday through Friday during the day, and there's just going to be a house manager, what are their qualifications to work the overnight and the weekends 24 hours a day? Who's there to make sure that our neighborhood that we've lived in and have put money into is going to maintain being a safe zone for our families and neighbors? I need to know those things. And I think that 40 is way too many. I think, if anything, the 21 that they had during COVID, when they sold, is what they had, because they had 29. They were brought down to 21 during COVID. And I think that would be a better fit if this becomes a possibility. Like I said, I don't like the idea of period of 40 men in my neighborhood coming and going until 11 o'clock at night. I don't even come home at 11 o'clock at night. I think that's the late hour for people to be coming into the neighborhood to settle down for the evening, especially if that's a 7-day weekday. So those are my concerns with the neighborhood. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Get those knees moving.
That's those bland standards.
Yeah.
So
So, Dimitri Gutierrez. Sorry? Oh, okay. I'm Dimitri Gutierrez. I live at 19 Market Street. We've owned that property for 62 years. Got along with everybody. Yeah, the family in the neighborhood has changed a lot. When we first bought the house, there were a lot of older folks. Now we have a lot of young kids in the neighborhood. It's a very small neighborhood. We only have like 5 houses on one side, and my house on the other one, it's just one. And we try to get along with everybody. The nursing homes, we've been those great relationships. We want to continue that with whoever takes over that property. The thing is that people that do come into solar homes do have issues there about health issues, and sometimes they are coming from parole or probation. They've been placed in detox. They go to rehabs, and then those facilities refer them to solar homes. So they do have backgrounds that may not be as great as we might want in our neighborhood next door to us with that many people, regardless of whether it's 20 or 40, it is an issue. You have an elementary school right up the street, and I think that we are concerned about the element that would be coming into the neighborhood. And in that number is a little bit scary for us. I think that we would be more comfortable with a less number if it's going to happen. If we feel like it's going to happen anyways, but we would prefer if there was a smaller number. And as far as house managers and stuff go, there is a routine that a lot of times I spoke before, that the people that are there in recovery become house managers a lot of times, and they falter too. And so then they're just replaced with another person who is a client as well. So to clear that up, it's not just like pink and blue and everything's all happy, because people fail, and then what happens when they have to leave, and then somebody, it's almost like a revolving door. They're coming and going, they're coming and going. And I'm not sure if people stay there for that long a period of time, of a year or something. They're working, they're paying to stay there, and then once they become getting a good time of recovery, they want to move on to the place for another spot or 2 or 10 open for more people to come in. So we're concerned about the overall change of people coming and going. And the unknown, people that we don't know, mental health issues, drug overdoses, police presence, criminal acts. I mean, you don't even have to have that in your neighborhood to have somebody breaking into your car at that time. So it is a concern, because we're going to have a lot of new people coming in that nobody knows that we're not getting the safe public. So I think those are concerns for everybody and all neighborhoods, but this is right next door. There is a big difference. So these people go home at night, they're not living in our neighborhood. We are. So it is a concern. And I hope that you'll think about that when you decide.
Well, thank you very much. Is there anybody else that would like to speak in opposition?
And that's just the case. Just in case.
Sorry. My name is Mai. I live on 16 Amory Street, which is directly across the back of the requested 28 Linwood Road. So I do support, of course, recovery and mental health services, but location does matter. So locating this facility at 28 Linwood Road is not in the best interest of our community safety and welfare, as well as just our overall neighborhood integrity. So overall, I have a few objections here, and one would be the proximity to the schools. So one school that we noted already was Tracy Elementary School, which is just about 500 feet away. So really half a block, you can kind of just you could see it from where we are, as well as Sewell Anderson School, which is just half a mile up the road as well. We are also approximately 0.7 miles from Gallagher Park and Playground. So this location is putting us within immediate walking distance of the school, the playground, just basically commonly used pedestrian routes by minors and families. So that is going to raise, of course, on our end, safety concerns, just supervision, and just appropriateness concerns for our neighborhood overall. So not only that, I know earlier we talked about, the locations of the supermarkets and the bus, like corner stores, bus stops. You walk by everything I kind of noted to get to these areas as well. Another thing that we kind of talked about tonight was zoning and the land use. So when we talked about that, I think the big thing that came out is parking. So our concern is parking. I live right across the street. One of the neighbors already pointed out they already used up the street during the construction over the summer. And if you knew how difficult it is already to drive down that one-way street during the winter, you would kind of also see why we're concerned about these parking spaces. There's only a few houses on that street, and we're already in itself having a difficult time going up and down the street, even with the plows going through as well. So that is a big concern that we have. And I definitely want to have us take seriously, that whole 10 parking thing. There really is not 10 parking there. And even if there was, once you fill in those 10 parking spaces, where do they expect their residents to hang out? They can't hang out they're going to be just right on the sidewalks on Lynwood Road and Emery Street as well. There, with all that car parking spot filled, they're not going to have space to hang out anywhere else because it's extremely tight there. We're a very close knit community. Like they said, there's not a lot of people on that street. So we had a great relationship with Phillips Manor Home. They would come out and spend time during the summer as well. And again, they hung out in that back space because they had space to hang out and do barbecues as well. That's not going to be the case here. Another thing that I'm looking at is, of course, just the adverse impact of the property value and just the stability and sustainability we have as a neighborhood. So similar facilities have been placed in residential zones, and they do have measurable impacts on the property value and just the community cohesion. Like I said, we're very close knit. So when you look around, my concern would be, the loitering, because like I said, where are they going to spend time? Littering and unfortunately high police activity. I've witnessed it in other areas where homes have come up. And so if it's increased, what are we, that's a concern that I would have overall. So just like that public safety, infrastructure concerns, all of that. So what they're looking for, like they said, is 40 beds. Where we're going from during the pandemic, about 22 to 25 beds. So that is a major increase there. And one of the things that we're concerned about, of course, is how does that relate to traffic, emergency response, if there is increased police activity. And I just don't know how much of our concerns have been adequately addressed during the in favor. One thing that I'm concerned about and had no relief from today is how these facilities are really kind of maintained and the specialized training required. So I know that we talked about them having a house manager who is a resident there as well, and that they have some kind of training, but not the training that would put us at ease into feeling confident that that house is being maintained properly for our community and what we expect for our community and neighborhood overall. So that could be training in regards to acute mental health episodes or security risk. And what is the accountability for the house manager? So I know that they say that they are, they're also tested once a week, right? Or but who's there to they're responsible for the reports to say, okay, well, this person came in late, right? So who's reporting on them? How do we know they're being accounted for at all? And with that as well, they were saying testing once a week, but random. Okay. So if they were not compliant on Monday and they weren't tested again, and they were tested, say they were tested on Monday, but they weren't compliant on Tuesday. So for those many days, they are non-compliant until they get tested again. So there really is no reassurance there. You could say they're tested, but I don't know how many days they were there not following and being in compliance with that agreement that they had listed, that they have signed by the residents of the home as well. So that is something that I would be concerned for. And one of the we talked about was like the criteria for admission. So we did kind of heavily spoke about that, and there, I just don't have, I feel like there's no resolution there because a lot of the times we're getting, okay, one person who is responsible and that's their criteria of being able to like be accepted into the home. So I'm now relying on this one person, and whatever their criteria is, but okay, how, no, I don't mean any offense, but there's almost seems like because there's so many homes and experience that I don't know if anyone's being worn out thin from these decisions. Like you have to go on vacation as well, not just you, other people do. So who's covering this? Who's responsible for covering and making these decisions as well? So those are things that I just don't feel like anyone's really, I don't know, there's actual major accountability enough to fill in the gaps that we were talking about earlier. I just feel there's just these gaps that are like, oh, I think one of the comments earlier was like, oh, if there's advance notice. Okay, so if there's not advance notice, who's filling in that gap? Like who's making this decision, and who's covering? So that is something that I feel like needs to be considered as well. And so between that and the professional training that should be required for those who are managing the home, I think that's a big concern. And lastly, I would say, I know that this was brought up, a community notification. I think that, I love that we're all here to, support one another in this opposition, but the lack of, I don't know if there's enough community input here. So the notice that we were given, if I'm being honest, was in English. And I think that, I know our neighborhood, and that's not enough for our neighborhood to understand what is being proposed here today. So the community could, it includes those whose primary language includes Spanish, Cambodian, Vietnamese, and so much more. Asian, absolutely. So my notice was in English, and yes, I could read English, and that's my primary language, so that I am here to support it. And so I just, so with that, we want to make sure that the decisions that are being made are fully understood by those in our community as well. And honestly, because of the proximity to schools and playgrounds, school and parent notification. So are the parents and are the parents and students and school members of the school, such as Tracy, aware that this is being proposed, and they know that this is what their students are going to be walking through, their kids are going to be walking through as well? And have they been given also the opportunity to provide feedback or oppose decision? Like I said, we are a very close-knit community. We see kids every single day. Just when I left to come here, kids were playing on the streets, and we see the kids walking home from school and going to school every single day. So those are the concerns that I have.
Thank you very much.
Tracy, I did send an email to the principal, but they're on vacation, so I have not gotten any info from her yet. But I did try to cover some of the cases.
Yeah. So even with that, if she's on vacation, none of the parents are aware, none of the students are aware. Overall, I shared a lot of the concerns for the zoning here, and I know that I think that when those in favor came in, they focused primarily on the good that a sober home can do, and they're not focusing at all on our neighborhood or the zoning factor of this meeting overall. And that's just something to consider, as well as how they manage it.
Thank you very much. Anybody else? I'll wait. Oh boy, you look like you have my knees.
Hi, my name is Donna Bailey. I actually wrote my maiden name earlier too. I wouldn't mind if there was a sober house across the street.
Sorry.
It's okay. Heaven's all of us. I wouldn't mind if there was a sober house across the street, but 40 people, way too much. The parking situation there, they're lucky if they can park 9 cars in the parking lot. And as for the street, I mean, the street, people park on the street all the time, but they got the Tracy School, little itty bitty kids. I mean, little itty bitty kids. And they're all flying past the nursing home. Oh, the sober home. And I'm actually a single woman. I've lived in my house for 26 years and I never felt fear. Well, with 40 men across the street, it kind of little trepidation and it's like a little bit scared. And if I leave the house, they know the house is open. They can help themselves. But yeah, as for the parking, no bueno. And like I said, even like directly across from me. I mean, I have 18-wheelers delivering food and stuff. Parking it across my driveway at 3 o'clock in the morning. And boom, 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 boom. I was like, Bonnie, can you guys change your time? I have to work tomorrow. So, but yeah, I mean, I wish them luck on whatever they do. But this just 40 is just way too many. And actually,
She lives across the street? You live on Linwood?
33 Linwood, directly across the street. And another thing, it's like, it's just scares me. It's like, they know when I'm home and they know when I'm not. And then having 40 guys congregate. And it's just going to be a cluster.
Yeah.
So I think it'll be a time.
Thank you for your time. Thank you. Wow. Well, that's a lot to digest. I don't know what we're going to do tonight as far as taking a vote, because I'm not sure that you want us to take a vote tonight. It might be worthwhile. It might be worthwhile creating a meeting with all the neighbors to figure out what would be acceptable to them, because it seems to me the biggest problem is number of people. That seems to be, well, parking and the number of people.
So what I was going to request perhaps is that the board consider granting a continuance. We'll go back and look at the parking issue and work with Mr. Poole also to work through that. Just a refresher though, and I took a lot of notes about what I heard this evening. And I would like to just remind the board that we're here again seeking reasonable accommodation under Fair Housing Act and the Dover Amendment 40A Section 3. If I may just read what Section 3 provides. Notwithstanding any general or special law to the contrary, local land use and health and safety laws, regulations, practices, ordinances, bylaws, and decisions of a city or town shall not discriminate against a disabled person. Imposition of health and safety laws or land use requirements on congregate living arrangements among non-related persons with disabilities that are not imposed on families and groups of similar size or other unrelated persons shall constitute discrimination. And I think that I just want to be mindful that happy to address the parking situation and matters of that. But in terms of discriminating against a group of people because they're going through sobriety, that's not allowed under state law.
I don't think the intent is to discriminate. Pretty much everybody here, even speaking opposed to this project, would say that it's the number of people. They're saying that it is not the sobriety house, it's the number of men you're adding to the neighborhood. It's a single and two-family home neighborhood, and they're talking about adding 40 people in one.
Yes, I was just concerned about certain things, certain comments that they were concerned about the element that was coming. There are legitimate concerns that I've heard this evening, but I just want to make certain that we stay focused on the legitimate concerns and not discrimination against persons going to survive.
That's why it would be wise to find out who all these people are here tonight. And clearly, it's not just the abutters, Mary. I would say it was probably the entire neighborhood, because you've got abutters in the back as well as abutters in the front on the sides. So I think there's more people involved than who are mailed to. Feel close to what's going to be happening in this neighborhood. Certainly moving a lot of people into one house in a single family, double family house in the neighborhood is going to affect everybody. That's a lot of people.
So I just want to comment, this board looks at zoning issues. And that's what we look at.
Yeah.
We don't look at anything else other than zoning. We don't write the zoning laws. We determine based on what's done. We recently went through a zoning upgrade last year, 2025. And the city went through an extensive effort to look at what the character of each neighborhood is. And they set the zoning to match what was actually in the neighborhood, as opposed to we had some zoning where a lot of the buildings were built, and then they had zoning of what they would like the neighborhood to eventually look like, and it never went there. And so a lot of properties had to come before this board and ask for variances for everything they did. And by restructuring or redoing the zoning, it's reduced a lot of that zoning change of use or having to ask for variances, because now the zoning is more closely aligned to what is physically there now. And so that's what we're going to be looking at. Mr. Poole, it sounds like he didn't have a chance to look at the parking plan. So I think he needs to assess that to determine what are the true parking plans. There's some discrepancy about an easement that may impact that number. So I think that parking plan, anybody that comes before us, that's a big consideration. If you look at parking, we have a new requirement if you're changing the footprint to look at pervious and impervious area, because the amount of land that's covered by developing, there's a certain thing in that to reduce the runoff, because we have a densely populated community. If we continue to pave the community, there's more runoff, there's more flooding issues and those sorts of things. So the city has been very proactive in updating our zoning, making it match the community as we live in now, but also be conscious of trying to make it a little bit better. So I think you need to talk to Mr. Poole as far as the parking.
Sure.
And that parking is probably going to drive what the count is in the building. And there was a special permit that granted a number back in the 50s. And I think I'm not going to speak for the whole board, but from everything we heard from the city councilor to everybody for and against, they had an issue with the number 40. That's even the people that spoke for it in the neighborhood had an issue with that. So I think there's some things that you need to go back, and there's some details on the licensing and the certification we'd like to see. So I'd be willing to grant a continuance.
And stipulations.
Yeah, for you to come up with that, what you need to do to come back, and whether a couple of weeks is enough time for you to do all that, or if you need more time, we're open to that.
Okay. We think that we can gather it within a couple of weeks, so.
Here's your dates.
Thank you.
Did you have a question? I can't hear you.
She wants to give an addendum.
Oh, come on.
It was Donna Bailey.
Donna
Donna Bailey.
Just,
A quick statement, Donna? Okay, thank you.
I just have enough things to say about if it's a sober house and there's 40 men in there and they have one monitor that's saying that. I've seen it. What if I'm an alcoholic? So what if a fight breaks? One person is not going to have 40 men.
Yeah.
So
It's a consideration. Yeah, thank you. Did you have any other questions?
No question, just to say, if the 19th of May
Sure.
works for the board.
All right, so I make a motion to continue this case till May 19th with the stipulation that, that we advise the owners to meet with all their neighbors to talk about what the problems are with, their concerns are, and also to come up with what you want at the.
well, I think they need the licensing, but also meet with Mr. Poole.
With Mr. Poole, right. Meet with Mr. Number 3, meet with Mr. Poole. That'd be good.
And reconcile the potential, right away.
Second. So who seconded that?
I'll second.
Okay. Owners to meet with the neighborhood and to meet with Mr. Poole and what licensings they need.
And then information about licensing, information about the licensing that MASH and,
MASH.
And the,
And NER.
and the parking and what impact the easement may have on them.
Okay. An easement.
I'm saying it's 0.25 spaces per.
Sure.
We had a question about what they have.
Okay, I'll give it to them. Thank you so much. He just gave me information about that.
okay.
I'll put it right there.
Yeah. You might want to test that out too.
I'll send everything that I got tonight out
So
to
it was the stipulations for parking versus easement and meeting members and.
the licensing of MASH and NER and the easement about parking.
Licensing.
So neighborhood meeting, information licensing about MASH and NER and the parking situation on the easement,
Yes.
correct? Okay.
Yes.
Member Gilvine,
Yes, to continue.
till May 19th.
Yes.
Member Maggio,
Yes, to continue.
Member Olson,
Yes, to continue.
Member Lopez Hernandez with the stipulations.
Yes, to continue.
Member Crowitz?
Yes, to continue.
Okay.
So they'll be coming back on the 19th of May
Oh, this is-
to discuss findings.
Thank you, everybody. I.
Motion to adjourn?
Second.
Second.
Aye.
Sorry. Here. I was gonna.